So why do I have a YouTube channel? Well, recently I was watching online and I have 45 years of experience in accounting, tax, finances, and to go on YouTube and see somebody that's very popular, 20 years old, has no experience, and the stuff they tell you is just bizarre. Well, what the hell? So I'm watching this guy. He's like 20 years old. He tells you straightforward. He goes, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm only 20 years old. Why should you listen to me? You're right. Hell, you shouldn't listen to him. The stuff you learn is bizarre. But not necessarily any more bizarre than some of the other stuff that you can find on YouTube. But there's also some really great stuff on YouTube. I'm an old guy. I've been around a long time. And I have a lot of experience, which if I share with you, you get to learn something. Your life is a little better, at least the financial side. And hell, I know I'm going to feel good about it. So let's get started. So I could start with, wow, how do you invest in during COVID and what's going to happen and all these wonderful things. I love watching people that want to give you advice on investment strategies during COVID. That once again, you had 2 or 3 years of experience. Really? Investment strategies? What in God's name could that person possibly know, short of what they can read? And reading and experience, come on, they're two totally different things. So I'm going to start with some basics, and if you stick around a while, I guarantee you the basics, they even apply during COVID. Doesn't make any difference how the world changes. This is one of my favorite books. Seems pretty simplistic. It isn't the intelligent investor that you might see by following people like Warren Buffett. I reread this book just because I like the book, and I'll reread it every few years. It's a good basic place to start. And although people would like you to think that investing is complicated, it really isn't. To be successful in investing just isn't that hard. So this is The Richest Man in Babylon. And what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to go through some of the lessons in the book, paraphrase them, and tell you what they're pretty much talking about. The first chapter is about the man who desireth gold. Well, this is a story about a guy. In this case, he's a chariot builder in ancient Babylon, and he's frustrated with his life and the fact that he hasn't gotten ahead. Well, hell, this guy could be a machinist, he could be a janitor, hell, he'd actually be an attorney if he wanted to be. Just because you're well educated doesn't mean that you're doing well financially. He's sitting, he's lamenting. One of his friends comes over. They both have the same kind of problem, and that is they've been working for 10, 15 years, and they aren't any better off. Well, after conversing for a while, they remember that one of their schoolmates, his name is Ahmed, that he's the richest man in Babylon, hence the name of the book. And they're going, well, he wasn't any better of a student than we were. So, why is he the richest man in Babylon? And we just go day in, day out, just trying to scrape by. And that's pretty much the whole chapter. But what they decide at the end, which is actually a pretty smart thing to do, is they say to themselves, well, the guy's still in Babylon. We're still friends with him. He smiles when he sees us. Why don't we simply go talk to him? What a thought. Somebody that actually, they know something that you want to know. Go talk to them. They've got the experience. Ask them how they did it. That's the first chapter. The second chapter, Richest Man in Babylon. He starts talking about how he made his money. This is what you're going to learn by reading the book. And how he made his money is when he was younger, he looked around when he got out of school, and he went, well, some people are poor and some people are wealthy, and I'd like to be wealthy. So that being the case, I'm going to focus all my time, all my energies on becoming wealthy. And the way he decides to do this, he says, well, I'll work in an area where I'll run into, hopefully, some wealthy people that I can learn from. So he meets Algamish, the money changer. And what Arkrid's doing is he's working as a scribe. Algamish comes in that he wants some tablets created for him. And Akrid makes a deal with him. The deal is that he'll do these. He'll do them really fast if the money changer will simply tell him, how'd you get so wealthy? And the money changer says, he agrees. He says, great deal. So Akrid works through the night, and he's working until his eyes, he can barely keep them open. And the next morning, Algamish comes in, and he's pretty impressed that Akrid kept his word and did what he said he was going to do. He got the tablets built for him. So Akrid said, okay, the first thing you're going to learn is a part of everything that you earn is yours to keep. Well, Akrid's looking at Algamish and going, well, of course, what do you mean portion of everything I earn is mine to keep? Everything I earn is mine to keep. And Algamish goes, really? I don't think so. He says, you get paid, and, well, you have to pay for your rent, and then you have to pay for your food, and you have to pay the clothes maker for the clothes, and by the time you're done, what do you have left? And Arkrid's going, well, I don't have anything left. And Algamish is going, He goes, hey, maybe you're figuring this out. So what he tells him is, he says, take 10% of everything you earn and put it to the side. And he says, you'll find out very soon that you can do without 10% of everything you earn. You'll still pay your rent. You're probably going to eat differently. You'll change a few of your expenses, but you can live on that. Algamish disappears, and he comes back in a year. And he says, well, Akrid, what did you learn? And Akrid says, well, I did exactly what you said. Every time I got paid, I put 10% to the side, and that 10% kept building and building. And then when I had enough money, I went out and I bought beautiful clothing for her and for myself, and I ate the finest foods. And Algamish just looks at him and goes, young idiot. He goes, you just threw away all your savings. What did you learn? You learned nothing. Well, Akrid was feeling, sort of foolish. And Algamish went, okay, well, you ripped up your money tree. Try it again. So he disappears for a year. Now, during this time, once again, Akrid gets paid. He takes his 10%. He puts it aside. He builds it up, and he decides, I'm going to invest it. I've heard that my friend the baker is going to go on a trip, and he can invest the money that I've saved to buy jewels. He'll buy jewels for a reasonable price. He'll bring them back. I'll sell them for more. I'll make good money. This is a good thing. This is what I'll do. So after a year, he's done this. Algamish comes back and he says, well, what have you done this year? He says, well, this time I didn't spend all my money. I gave it to the baker. He took it and to buy gems. Unfortunately, the baker really doesn't know anything about gems. So what he ended up being cheated and being given colored rocks, and it came back, and I lost my money again. And Algamish is just going, you fool. Okay, one last try. What have you learned from this? And Akrid said, well, what I've learned is that if I'm going to invest money, I should invest money with people that are experienced, that know what they're doing. So Algamish says, okay, that sounds reasonable, but I'll go away for a year. You can give it a try, and let's see how successful you are. So after a year, Algamish comes back, and he says, well, what happened? And Akrid says, well, each month I took my pay, I took my 10%, I put it to the side, After I've built up enough, I gave that money to the bronze dealer, and he did take that money and bought bronze at a reasonable rate that we could then resell at a higher rate. And my money is therefore grown. Alchemist said, you've learned the first lesson on how to manage money, and because of this, I'd like you to come work for me instead of being a scribe. Unfortunately, my sons, all they can do is think of spending money, and I don't want to waste everything that I've created, that I've built up over all these years. So if you'll come work for me and use the skills that you've now learned, when I pass into the heavens, I will take a part of my estate and I'll give it to you. And that was the story for this chapter. So what you need to learn was that a part of all you earn is yours to keep. Re-emphasizing, when you get paid, when you make money, I don't care if you're a kid and you get your allowance, take at least 10% and put it to the side. Put it in a bank account within an investment firm so that it can build up. When it builds up enough, you'll then have money to invest and you can do better. When you learn to pay yourself first, you'll find out that you can easily live on the 90% that's remaining. It may seem odd, but give it a try and see how it works. The next chapter is 7 cures for a lean purse. The first cure is if you want your purse to start fattening, take 10% of what you earn and put it to the side. Save it for investing. The second cure, control thy expenditures. You can eat out less. There's a lot of ways that you can hit your budget. The third cure, make thy gold multiply. If you just take the money, you take your 10%, you put it aside, it will add up. But investing your money is going to let it grow. As an example, I invest in conservative stocks, and realistically, every 5 years, everything that I've put in, every 5 years or less, it doubles. Well, doubling and accumulating over a long period of time, I don't care how little you started with. You can be, I can always say, you can be a janitor, you can be a waitress, you can be a waiter. As long as you have the ability to earn, if you take that percentage and you invest it reasonably, you can retire wealthy. I don't care who you are, and I don't care what your income. Obviously, if you have a lot of income, you can retire wealthier. But who cares? Who the hell needs wealthier? You only need so much money. And the whole idea that somebody that's maybe a janitor, which is a good, honest job, somebody's a mechanic, great, honest job. As an example, even that person can retire a millionaire and retire comfortably. The fourth cure, guard thy treasures from loss. When I think of guarding thy treasures from loss, I think of get-rich-quick schemes. You've got your money, you've got it invested. I'm telling you, you can invest in Apple, you can invest in Berkshire Hathaway, and every 5 years, somewhat less, your money's going to double. That's a good rate of return. Now, although there are speculative investments, you always get to hear about the speculative investments to work out well. Not so many people are crazy to tell you about the speculative investments that all the money gets lost on. As an example, startups. 1 in 1,000 startups is a success. That leaves 999 other startups that went belly up. So, the fourth cure, guard thy treasure from loss. Don't ask your money to make an unreasonable amount of return. Also, don't think, well, if I put it in the bank, it's really safe. Well, it's getting 1% return on investment. That's horrific. I invested it with a financial advisor, and he and he spread it across the whole flipping planet, and it's getting 5 to 6%, and that's 5 to 6 times more than a bank. 5 to 6% in our market over the last 25 years would be horrific. If you diversify enough, you don't lose much, but heck, you don't make much either. Whereas you can invest in a good substantial stock. It's not unusual to get 15 to 20% return on investment while still keeping your money secure and fairly risk-free. The fifth cure: make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. In this book by George S. Clausen, he's talking about investing in your home. You know, you have a house, you have the mortgage, you invest in your home. Well, it's a hard one to endorse. You can see, if you look at my window, you'll see that I'm in an RV resort. My wife and I live in a 20-foot Airstream pulled by a Volvo. It's beautiful. They last forever. It's an exceptional investment. I pay very little for rent. I invested in a resort membership, which cost us about $6,600, and I pay about $500 or $600 a year in additional fees. So that's a one-time payment, $600 or a one-time investment, and then $500 or $600 a year. I purchased my home, which in this case was $68,000. We bought it new. I purchased my home, and then from there on out, after I paid my $6,600, I pay $500 or $600 a year. Those are my total expenses. We're from Hawaii. I used to pay $2,800 a month. So I used to pay $33,600 plus utilities a year. And we did that every year for 10 years. Whereas I could have had a home like this, not in Hawaii, they're not allowed, but I could have had a home like this, and my total cost, like I said, after I buy it, the $6,600 plus the $500 or $600 a month, and that takes care of all my water, all my electricity, our utilities, all taken care of for that price. Heck of a deal. Now, I'm not getting the appreciation that I would have in a home, but then again, I get to take all the money that I would have paid for a much higher mortgage, and I get to invest it. And that investment, in my case, makes me about 20% a year. I guarantee you that investment at 20% a year appreciates substantially more than a house does. Okay, sixth cure: ensure a future income. Real simple. Invest wisely, and you'll have a really nice retirement. It isn't just you'll have a nice retirement. Hell, I guarantee you, when you're investing wisely, in short, you're accumulating wealth, you feel better every day. You have less stress. It's a good thing. The seventh, final cure: increase thy ability to earn. This is all about education. This is about earning. Although I talk about, investing in stocks or, well, pretty much that's just the simplest thing. So I like investing in stocks. You do some value investing. The best thing you'll ever invest in your whole life is in yourself, in your partner, in your family. These are actually the best investments. These will provide you with the greatest return on your investment because they're the major source of your happiness. It's nice to have lots of money, but if you don't have the other stuff going for you, all the money in the world isn't really worth much. Okay, this book goes on and on. So we're going to stop there because realistically, I think a video is good for about 15 minutes. It was a real pleasure. If you like this is my first video. I'll watch a few, decide if you like them or not. But if you do, hit the button down at the bottom, subscribe, and you will get these as soon as I put them out. Okay? Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.